Welcome to Sleep with Myth. Close your eyes and let the world fade away. Tonight we drift beyond time, where gods dream and stories remember their light. There are forests that grow from earth, and there are forests that grow from memory. The forest of glass was the second kind. It stood at the northern edge of the spirit realm, where dawn never fully rose and night never fully fell. An eternal hush between breaths. Its trees were tall, crystalline pillars, each formed from memories, emotions, and fragments of souls long passed through its depths. Every trunk shimmered faintly with inner light. Every branch reflected a different shade of truth. Every leaf glittered like a thought preserved in silence. And it was here that Hikaru arrived, lantern trembling faintly in her hands. She had heard the stories. Asterisk, the trees show what your soul hides. The forest speaks only the truth. Walk carefully. Glass remembers everything. Asterisk. But she had no choice. Not tonight. Something precious had been taken from her. A memory so deeply rooted in her spirit that its loss left an ache sharp enough to hollow her. She stepped onto the crystal path. The forest exhaled in welcome, or warning. Hikaru tightened her grip on the lantern. "I'm ready," she whispered, though she wasn't. The path shimmered beneath her feet, reflecting her footsteps like a mirror. The trees swayed, not with wind, but with awareness. As Hikaru walked deeper, reflections began to form against the trunks. At first, they were faint blurs, shadows of her past, too soft to name. But slowly, she saw herself, a younger Hikaru, laughing beneath summer rain. Another version of herself running through tall grass. Another sitting beneath an autumn tree, clutching a book to her chest. The forest whispered with each reflection. Asterisk, remember, 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 asterisk. Hikaru swallowed hard. I am trying. But the memory she sought did not appear. The one taken from her. The one stolen. The lantern flickered. A soft crack sounded to her left. Hikaru spun. A tall tree of blue glass rippled with light, then formed a reflection that wasn't from her past. Not her at all. A man with long silver hair, eyes like starlit water, faint sorrowful smile. He lifted a hand and placed it on the glass, as if trapped inside. Hikaru's breath caught. Who? The reflection vanished. The tree returned to stillness, glittering with unreadable silence. Hikaru stepped closer and pressed her palm where the man had stood. The glass pulsed once, warm and faintly alive. Then a whisper slid into her thoughts. Come find me. Her heart shuddered. She knew that voice, but couldn't remember why. That's why I'm here, she murmured. To find you, whoever you are. She moved deeper. The glass trees grew brighter the farther she traveled, their reflections sharpening with painful clarity. She saw moments she wished she could forget. Her voice breaking during an argument. Her hands shaking as she failed someone she loved. Her face streaked with tears on a winter night she tried so hard to erase. The trees did not judge. They simply showed. That was their nature. But Hikaru's steps grew heavy. The forest of glass did not allow lies. Not the ones spoken, nor the ones buried in silence. Her lantern pulsed weakly with each truth revealed, its flame reacting to the weight of her spirit. She whispered to it, "Stay with me, please." The lantern answered with a small, determined glow. Halfway through the forest, she reached a clearing. In the center stood a massive crystal tree, its trunk swirling with countless lights, its branches reaching like frozen lightning into the dim sky. The heart-glass tree, the oldest witness of the forest. It pulsed gently as Hikaru approached, ripple after ripple of soft luminescence radiating outward. Her voice trembled. "I'm looking for someone. Someone I forgot. Someone taken from me." The tree dimmed, then lit again with a sharp, bright flash. A reflection formed in its surface. Hikaru. But not alone. Beside her stood the silver-haired man from earlier, hand in hers, both smiling at something she could not see. Her own reflection whispered, "You knew him." Hikaru touched the glass, tears gathering in her eyes. "Who is he? Why can't I remember?" The tree answered, not with words, with a memory. Light spilled outward, engulfing her senses. She stood in a different place, a shrine of shifting light, a night sky full of falling stars, and a figure walking toward her. The silver-haired man, eyes warm as dawn. He reached her. Hikaru's breath caught. "You found me," he said gently, but the memory blurred before she could answer. A shadow rose from the edge of the vision, sharp, cold, hungry. It wrapped around the man and tore him away. Hikaru screamed, but the sound shattered the memory entirely. She fell to the forest floor, clutching her chest. The heart-glass tree pulsed frantically, its branches echoing the tremor in her spirit. Hikaru gasped for air. So someone stole him, a shadow thing. Her voice broke, "And took my memories with him." The tree dimmed sympathetically. Hikaru stood on trembling legs. "Then I'm going after him." The forest pulsed. Branches swayed. Leaves rang like tiny chimes, a path opening before her. The forest of glass would not stop her, but neither would it protect her. She took one step forward. "Hold on," she whispered into the dim air. "I'm coming." The trees reflected her determination back at her. 1,000 Hikaru, all ready to face the truth. The lantern flared, and the path to the forest's deepest secret opened. Her journey had only begun. The path beyond the heart-glass tree twisted into dim corridors of crystal trunks. Here, the glass grew darker, tinged with shades of twilight and bruised silver. The reflections were no longer gentle reminders of her past. They were warnings. Hikaru's lantern flickered sharply as she stepped deeper. Her breath clouded in front of her even though the air was not cold. A whisper traveled between the trees. Not the forest this time. Something else. "She's come." Hikaru froze. The lantern pulsed in her hand, reacting to the presence that lingered just out of sight. "Who's there?" she whispered. Glass branches trembled. A low hum echoed through the forest, like fingers running along the surface of a crystal bowl. Then a reflection appeared in the nearest tree. Hikaru's blood ran cold. It was the silver-haired man. But this time he wasn't alone. A shadow clung to his back, tall and formless. Its long fingers wrapped around his shoulders like chains. The man turned his head as if trying to speak to her. But his mouth made no sound. The shadow tilted its head. Two hollow, glowing eyes formed within its shape, and it looked directly at Hikaru. Her heartbeat stumbled. "You!" she whispered. The forest groaned around her. The shadow slowly raised one long finger and tapped the silver-haired man's throat. The reflection shattered. Hikaru gasped and stumbled back. The lantern's flame burst violently, then calmed to a soft, sharp glow, pointing to the right. A direction. Path. Her voice trembled. "You're guiding me, aren't you?" The lantern flickered twice. "Yes." The deeper she walked, the less the forest resembled a forest. The trunks grew thinner, elongated, twisting into shapes that resembled the silhouettes of people. Some reaching, some crying, some curled in on themselves. Reflections swam across every surface. Hikaru running from something, her lantern breaking, her falling to her knees, her screaming a name, but the name was blurred out. Stolen. Her steps quickened. The forest whispered around her like a chorus. Remember, remember, remember. Find him. Find yourself. Her breath shook. My memory, my feelings. He took all of it. The forest trembled with a sympathetic hum. Another reflection appeared, this time clearer. She saw herself standing beside the silver-haired man at the shrine. They were speaking softly. The man laughed. A warm, gentle laugh that made something inside her ache. Then the memory froze. A crack split across the reflection. A hand, black as night, fluid as ink, reached into the memory and pulled the man out of it like tearing a page from a book. The memory collapsed into shards of glass. Hikaru's knees weakened. I cared about him, she whispered. The lantern's flame dimmed, as if in sorrow. I loved him. The flame brightened, yes. A tear fell from her cheek. I loved someone, and something stole him from me. A sudden, sharp whistle broke the silence. Glass shuddered. The trees bent backward as something rushed between them. Swift, cold, powerful. Hikaru spun. At the far edge of the clearing stood a tall figure of pure shadow. Not fully shaped, not fully solid, but its presence made the air fold inward. It stepped closer. The lantern's flame flared, reacting violently. The shadow paused, as if surprised Hikaru could see it so clearly. Her trembling voice rose. You're the one who took him. The shadow tilted its head. A ripple of whispering voices echoed from within it. Not taken. Hidden. Hikaru frowned. What do you mean? The shadow's form wavered. A single word formed through countless overlapping voices. Protected. Protected from what? The shadow reached toward her. Not in threat. In plea. From forgetting himself. From forgetting you. From losing what he was. Hikaru shook her head. But you stole him. You erased him from me. The shadow shivered. Because you were dying. Hikaru froze. My memories were killing me? The shadow nodded again. Reflections formed on every tree at once. Her falling limp in the arms of the silver-haired man. Her body growing cold. Her spirit flickering. And the man crying out in despair. A monstrous shadow rose behind him, formed from his grief, fear, and desperation. He had given birth to it, created it, and the shadow had acted. I took him to save him. I took your memories to save you. I broke what was killing you both. The root of the story struck her like a blade. She whispered, So, he created you. The shadow lowered its head. I am his sorrow, his love, his fear of losing you. Given form, Hikaru's breath trembled. The truth was unbearable. So where is he? The shadow pointed deeper, toward the heart of the forest, where souls go when they try to save someone they love too much. The lantern's flame shot forward, brilliant and fierce. Hikaru wiped her tears. Then take me to him. The shadow stepped back. For the first time, it bowed. Follow. And the forest of glass opened a path. One that had been sealed for lifetimes. Hikaru stepped into it without fear. Because love, even forgotten, was stronger than memory. And stronger still than shadow. Her journey was no longer about finding the truth. It was about bringing someone home. The path the shadow opened was narrow and trembling, like a wound cut into the forest's crystalline heart. The glass trees bent away from it, their reflections dulling, as if even they feared what lay ahead. Hikaru stepped forward. The lantern glowed with a pale, steady flame, no longer trembling, but preparing. The shadow moved ahead of her in slow, rippling strides. It did not walk like something alive, or like something dead. It moved like grief made into shape. Hikaru followed without hesitation. Her voice was steady. Tell me your name. The shadow paused. Its form quivered, as if the question itself was heavy. I have none, it whispered. He never gave me one. Hikaru swallowed softly. Then I'll give you one, when all of this is over. The shadow stilled. For a moment, it almost glowed. The path narrowed further until the trees formed a corridor of shimmering blue glass. This was different from the rest of the forest. The reflections inside these trunks didn't show the past. They showed emotions, raw, unfiltered, alive. Hikaru saw herself crying in one tree, raging in another, laughing uncontrollably in a third. But as she walked, the reflections changed. They weren't hers anymore. She saw him, the silver-haired man, sitting alone under a roof of stars, walking a quiet shrine path, tending to a broken wooden charm, crying into his palms, calling out her name, a name she still could not remember. Her breath trembled. Why can't I remember him? The shadow behind her replied quietly. Because if you remembered him while the memory was broken, your soul would have shattered. Hikaru's steps slowed. And him? Did he forget me too? The shadow's form flickered violently. No, he never could. Her heart tightened, painfully warm. The corridor gradually darkened until the glass trees glowed from within. casting a pale, dreaming blue light. The reflections sharpened. The man's face grew clearer, gentler, but also lonelier. He appeared in tree after tree, praying, waiting, searching. Hikaru touched one of the trunks. The moment her fingers brushed the glass, the reflection inside turned and looked at her. Her heart nearly stopped. The reflection whispered, "I'm sorry. I'm trying to find you. Asterisk, please wait for me." Hikaru, asterisk. Her name, her real name. Her knees weakened. Tears gathered in her eyes. He loved me. The lantern glowed warmly, as if saying yes. The shadow behind her lowered its head. He still does. Further down the corridor, the reflections changed again. They no longer showed the man alone. They showed the moment the shadow was born. A memory replayed across a dozen shining trunks. The man kneeling beside Hikaru, who lay unconscious, pale, her spirit flickering weakly, his trembling hands holding her lantern, his tears falling across her face, his fear rising so sharply it tore a hole in the world. A darkness crawled out of him, shaped by longing, fear, and unbearable love. It wrapped around Hikaru's fading spirit, not to harm, to hold, to protect, to keep her alive. The reflection whispered with 1,000 overlapping voices. I took the memory because it hurt her. I took him because he hurt himself. I held what neither of them could endure. Hikaru pressed her hand to her chest. It hurt, deeply, sweetly. You saved us both, she whispered to the shadow. The shadow trembled. I tried. The path opened into a vast circular chamber of glass, a natural cathedral of shimmering reflections. The ground was mirror-smooth, the walls curved like crystal waves, the ceiling lost in swirling mist. And in the center stood a gate, a towering veil of black glass, cracked with veins of silver light, as though moonlight were trapped inside it. Hikaru's breath caught. What is this place? The shadow lowered its head. The boundary, where a soul goes when it is neither alive nor dead, neither lost nor found. A chill ran through her spine. He's behind that gate. Yes. She approached slowly. As she neared the gate, the black glass cleared in places, revealing glimpses of the man inside. Him kneeling, him sleeping, him whispering to the darkness, him holding a small, broken talisman. Her talisman. Hikaru's chest tightened. I have to get him out. The shadow shifted. Asterisk, the gate holds memory. Only what is whole may pass. Asterisk. Hikaru looked down at her lantern. Its flame flickered, showing both courage and fear. She spoke softly. My memories are broken. Not broken, the shadow whispered. Taken from you so you would survive. But now I need them back. The shadow's form grew unsteady. I can return them. But if I do, what happens to you? Hikaru whispered. The shadow's voice wavered. I will cease. Her eyes widened. No! You're part of him. You were born to protect. The shadow shook, unstable. Asterisk, I can return everything, but there will be nothing left of me. Asterisk. Hikaru stepped forward and grabbed the shadow's arm. Her touch didn't pass through. It held. You don't have to die. There has to be another way. The shadow looked at her with hollow, trembling light. There isn't. The lantern dimmed in mourning. Hikaru's tears fell silently. You saved me, she whispered. And you saved him. Her grip tightened. I won't let the price be you. The shadow froze. For the first time it seemed afraid. You care for me? Hikaru nodded. A single powerful nod. You were born from love. You carried love. You protected it. Her voice broke. You deserve to live. The shadow flickered violently, shocked, shaken, unraveling. Don't know how to be anything else. Hikaru stepped closer. I'll teach you. The shadow's form steadied. For the first time since its creation, it seemed to breathe. The lantern flared with sudden brilliance. Its flame split, one part warm gold, the other pale white. Two lights, two souls intertwined. Hikaru lifted it between them. Share my light, she whispered. Not as a shadow, but as yourself. The shadow extended a trembling hand. When it touched the lantern, light burst outward. In a silent explosion of gold and silver, memories rushed into Hikaru. His laughter, his voice, his promise at the shrine, his hand brushing hers beneath cherry blossoms, his fear as she collapsed, his desperation as he held her lantern, his whispered confession. Asterisk, I love you. Please don't leave me. Asterisk. Hikaru gasped, chest aching, heart full. The shadow staggered back, but did not vanish. Its form steadied, shaped not by grief, but by gratitude. For the first time it spoke with a single clear voice. Asterisk, thank you, Hikaru. Asterisk. She smiled through tears. Now help me open the gate. The shadow nodded. Together, they placed their hands on the black glass. The gate pulsed, cracked, shuddered, and slowly began to open. Behind it, a figure lifted his head, silver hair falling over tired eyes, eyes that widened as they met hers. Hikaru? Her lantern blazed like dawn. I'm here. The gate dissolved into shimmering dust, and the man stepped forward. Their hands reached, and the forest of glass shimmered in silence. The reunion had begun. The gate dissolved into shimmering dust, not breaking, not shattering, but letting go, as though it had been waiting centuries for this one moment. Beyond it stood the silver-haired man. His posture was unsteady, his breath shallow, his spirit flickering between light and shadow. But his eyes were the same as the first memory the forest showed her. Soft, warm, painfully gentle. Hikaru? He whispered again, voice trembling with disbelief. She stepped forward, this time without fear, this time without hesitation, this time with memory restored. Yes, she breathed. I'm here. Her lantern glowed in answer, gold and silver intertwined. The man staggered toward her, as if afraid she might vanish again. Hikaru reached out. Their fingers touched, and in that moment, the forest of glass lit up. Light exploded through the crystalline trees, spreading in ripples like breath returning to a long silent body. Reflections in the glass swirled, showing their memories together, their first meeting by the shrine, their quiet walks under plum blossoms, hands brushing, shy smiles growing. The night she collapsed in his arms, the desperate moment he cried out to save her, when his love and fear tore the shadow from his heart. Every memory, every emotion, every truth, wove itself back into her spirit like threads of silver light. The man's hands tightened around hers. "I didn't mean to lose you," he whispered. Hikaru shook her head softly. "You didn't. You held on to me so tightly that it nearly broke you." He closed his eyes, a single tear falling. "I wasn't strong enough." Hikaru brushed his cheek gently. "You were strong enough to love me. That was enough." Behind them, the shadow, the one born from his grief, watched silently. But something had changed. It no longer flickered with instability, no longer trembled with fear. Its form was steady, solid, almost human, shaped by the light Hikaru had shared. It looked down at its own hands, as though seeing itself for the first time. "I remember you now," the man whispered to it. "You're from me." The shadow nodded. "I was created when you cried out," it said in a new, clear voice. "When you thought you were losing her forever." The man looked stricken. "I hurt you. I trapped you with my fear." "No," the shadow said. "You gave me a purpose. I protected her when neither of you could." Hikaru felt her eyes sting. "You saved both of us," she whispered. The shadow lowered its head, not in shame, but in quiet acceptance. "Now," it said softly, "you are whole again." The ground beneath them trembled. The trees, once dark and trembling, began to shift. One by one the trunks brightened. Cracks formed in the floor, but not from breaking, from transformation. The forest of glass was waking, glowing, changing, becoming something new. The man looked around nervously. "What's happening?" Hikaru lifted her lantern. "The forest is responding," she whispered. "It knows your soul is whole again." The shadow added, "And it is preparing the path." "For what?" Hikaru asked. For a moment, the forest fell silent. Then a low hum rose through the air, a deep sound like a heartbeat resonating through crystal. The heart-glass tree, far behind them, pulsed faintly. The path ahead shimmered with growing light. The shadow's voice lowered. "For the place where your stolen memories were hidden." The man's expression tightened. "There's more." The shadow nodded. "She saved you, but she didn't save everything." Hikaru straightened. "Then take us." The path ahead unfurled like a ribbon of shining ice. The corridor walls shifted again, this time showing not memories, not emotions, but possibilities, reflections of futures that never happened. Hikaru alone wandering the world, the man waiting forever at the shrine, the shadow consuming itself without purpose. Hikaru's hand tightened around his. "We won't let those futures come true." He nodded, eyes steady. Together they walked. The forest parted gracefully, as though bowing. At the far end of the corridor, a large crystalline archway formed from twisting branches of blue glass. At its center was a single, glowing fracture, a crack that pulsed like the beat of a failing heart. The shadow approached it slowly. "This crack holds the last piece of what was taken," it murmured. "The memory you lost, and the memory he lost, when I tore too much away." Hikaru stepped closer. "Show me." The shadow looked between them. Once it might have hesitated. Once it feared hurting them. But now it trusted them. It raised its hand. The crack widened. Light spilled out, cold at first, then warm, then blinding. Hikaru closed her eyes. A voice reached her. Soft, familiar, heartbreaking. Hikaru, will you walk with me? Not for a night, not for a season, but for as long as your spirit remembers my name. Her eyes opened. The man beside her gasped as the same memory hit him. "I asked you that," he whispered, voice breaking. "And I said," Hikaru began, tears rising, but the memory finished itself. Yes. The light surged. The archway shattered. The lost vow returned. Their spirits intertwined in a burst of brilliant blue-gold radiance. His eyes widened, shining with relief. "You promised to stay with me." Hikaru nodded, trembling. "And you promised to never let me fade." The forest exploded with light. The heart-glass tree pulsed so brightly it lit the entire realm. The shadow fell to its knees, not in pain, but in release. The sacred vow they had both forgotten was restored, and with it, their connection, their love, their truth. The glass around them shifted one final time. The forest whispered, whole again, together, Hikaru turned to the silver-haired man. He cupped her face gently. "You came for me. Always," she whispered. "And you remembered me. Always." Their foreheads touched. The shadow stepped back, watching with a tender quietness. For the first time, its existence was no longer tied to fear or sorrow. Simply was. The man turned to the shadow. "You deserve a name," he said softly. Hikaru nodded. "You've earned one." The shadow waited. Hikaru smiled. "How about Kagami?" Mirror, reflection, the self that reveals truth. The shadow's eyes brightened, glowing softly. "I am Kagami," it whispered, and the forest accepted the name, glass chiming gently with approval. Kagami bowed deeply. "Then come," it said. "The forest has one more place to show you." Hikaru glanced at the man beside her. He nodded. Together, the three stepped forward into the forest's final secret, the place where souls are reborn, where the story would end, or begin again. They emerged from the last corridor of crystalline trunks into a vast, open glade. Hikaru gasped. The clearing was a dome of pure glass, a celestial bowl reflecting endless skies, even though no sky could be seen above. Light swirled upward like mist caught in a dream. In the center of the glade stood a massive basin carved directly from translucent crystal. It pulsed with slow, deep waves of silver-blue light. Kagami approached the basin and knelt. "This," it whispered, "is the cradle of reborn souls, the place where forgotten spirits regain their form, and where shattered hearts are made whole." The man's breath caught. "This is where you brought me." Kagami nodded. "And where I hid you when your spirit began to fracture under grief." Hikaru stepped forward, voice trembling. "He was dying?" Kagami bowed its head. "His love for you, his fear of losing you, both were too strong. His soul began to split, just as yours did." The man looked down, eyes glimmering with guilt. "I never knew. You weren't meant to," Kagami whispered. "I took the burden so you could live." The basin pulsed softly, waves of light rising and fading. Within its depths, reflections shimmered, not of the present, nor of the past, but of possibilities. Hikaru saw a vision of herself walking alone among broken trees, a vision of the man fading into mist, a vision of Kagami collapsing under the weight of their unraveling memories. She reached for the basin instinctively, but Kagami stopped her gently. "It is not showing fate," it said, "only what could have happened if you had never come here." Hikaru's hand trembled. "Then show me what comes next," she whispered. "What we must do." The basin brightened. A new image formed, a shard. Small, sharp, and glowing faintly with Hikaru's lantern light. The man inhaled sharply. "The last piece of her soul," he murmured. Kagami nodded. "And the last piece of yours." Hikaru touched her chest, feeling the absence. "The piece I lost when you removed my memories." Kagami's voice softened. "I took it so your soul would not collapse. But now, it must be returned." Hikaru looked at the man. He took her hand with a shaky breath. "Whatever it takes," he whispered. "We'll face it together." Kagami extended its hand into the basin. Light swirled around its fingers, silver and blue twisting into a spiral of memory. Slowly, carefully, Kagami drew out the shard. It glowed like a captured star, pulsing with golden warmth and soft white sorrow. When Hikaru approached, the shard flared, recognizing her. Kagami's voice trembled. "This will return everything you ever felt. Every joy, every fear, every moment of love, every moment of pain." Hikaru nodded. "I'm ready." The man gripped her hand tightly. "You don't have to bear it alone." Hikaru smiled softly. "I never did." Kagami pressed the shard to Hikaru's chest. Light erupted. It wasn't gentle. It wasn't quiet. It was memory, raw, overwhelming, flooding into her like a storm of shining blades. She cried out, but she didn't let go. Memories surged. Their first meeting beneath lantern light. Their whispered wishes at the shrine. His hand brushing hers for the first time. Their first laughter. Their first promise. her collapse into his arms, his scream of helplessness, Kagami's birth, the moment her spirit flickered out, and the moment Kagami took everything to save her. Hikaru fell to her knees, but the man held her tightly. "It's okay," he whispered. "Let it in. Let it all come back." Tears streamed down her face. She gasped, "I remember everything." Her hand reached for him, trembling. "And I still choose you." He closed his eyes, overwhelmed. "I never stopped choosing you." The basin pulsed once, a low, deep sound like a bell echoing through glass. Kagami stepped back, watching her carefully. "You are whole again," it said quietly. The man smiled. "And now so am I." Hikaru turned to Kagami. A soft glow surrounded the shadow, or rather the being it had become. "Thank you," she whispered, "for saving us, for protecting us." Kagami lowered its head. "I was born from sorrow, but you taught me something else." His voice grew warm. "Love can reshape even a shadow." Hikaru reached out. "So stay with us," she said gently. "Not as sorrow, not as fear, as Kagami." The shadow's form flickered, this time not in instability, but in emotion. "I will," it whispered, "if you will have me." Hikaru and the man both nodded. "You're family now," she said. The light around Kagami brightened, a single pure glow. The forest pulsed again. The trees, once only reflections, began to grow. Cracks vanished. Empty spaces filled with light. Branches lengthened like waking limbs. The forest of glass was no longer a place of broken memory. It was becoming a place of rebirth. Kagami stepped aside, pointing toward the far end of the glade. "There is one last place you must go," it said. Hikaru and the man looked at each other. Together they approached the path, a shimmering walkway of crystal and light. Beyond it, a faint glow pulsed, the final truth of the forest, the place where souls speak their last vow and choose their future. The final path shimmered beneath their feet, a narrow bridge of glowing crystal stretching into a quiet, pale horizon. Hikaru held the lantern close. Its flame, silver and gold intertwined, burned with steady warmth. The man walked beside her, their shoulders brushing gently with every step. Behind them, Kagami followed silently, no longer a trembling shadow, but a living being of soft, reflective light. The forest of glass was no longer dim. Its trees shone like pillars of dawn, their surfaces reflecting not fear, not sorrow, but hope. The forest was healing, because they were healing. At the end of the shimmering path stood a circular platform carved from pure, shining glass. But unlike the rest of the forest, this platform held no reflections, no past, no memories, no echo of who they were, only who they could become. Kagami bowed its head. "This," it said softly, "is the sanctuary of vows, the place where bound souls decide the shape of their future." Hikaru stepped onto the platform. The glass beneath her feet warmed like living skin. The man joined her, and for a moment, the lantern's flame flared as though greeting an old friend. Kagami remained at the edge. "This is your place," it whispered. "Not mine." Hikaru looked back at it gently. "You were born from our story. You belong here more than anyone." Kagami lowered its gaze, and for the first time, it looked shy. A soft wind blew across the sanctuary. Not air. Memory. But these memories were different from the ones before. They didn't show pain, or sorrow, or loss. They showed every moment of love that survived despite being forgotten. Hikaru saw herself laughing with the man beneath falling plum blossoms. The man saw himself brushing a leaf from her hair, smiling shyly. They saw their promises, their quiet mornings, their late-night conversations, their dreams shared in whispers, and both saw the moment their bond nearly broke, the moment she collapsed, the moment he screamed her name, the moment Kagami was born. Kagami watched these memories silently, its form trembling as if remembering its own birth. Hikaru approached it. "You aren't a mistake," she said softly. "You're the reason we survived." The man nodded. "You protected what we couldn't." Kagami's eyes shimmered. "I wanted to keep you both alive. That was all." "And you did," Hikaru whispered. "You did." The lantern floated upward, lifting from Hikaru's hands like a weight relieved of gravity. Its flame expanded into a sphere of twisting gold and silver light. Warm, alive, listening. Kagami bowed instantly. "It is waiting for your vow," it said. "The vow that decides what becomes of your souls, and the forest that protects them." The man stepped closer to Hikaru. Their fingers intertwined. Their foreheads touched. A breath shared. A memory restored. Hikaru whispered, "I remember everything now. Everything we were. Everything we lost. Everything we saved." He closed his eyes. "And I remember the moment I almost lost you." A trembling breath. "I don't ever want to feel that again." She smiled. "Then let's make a vow." The lantern flared brilliantly, its flame wrapping around their hands like a gentle ribbon of light. Hikaru spoke first. "I vow to walk beside you in every memory, not only in joy, but in fear, not only in light, but in shadow." He whispered softly, "And I vow to protect you without losing myself, to love you without breaking, to hold you without fear." The light expanded. Kagami lowered its head, overwhelmed. Hikaru and the man continued. Together, "We vow to remember one another, even if the world forgets our names." The lantern burst into pure radiance, washing the sanctuary in silver gold brilliance. For a moment, there were no trees, no shadows, no fears, only light, only truth, only vows given freely. When the light faded, the forest had transformed. The glass trees now shone with soft colors, pale lavender, gentle blue, warm gold. The reflections inside them no longer showed pain or brokenness. They showed harmony, balance, unity. Kagami stepped forward slowly. It is done, it whispered. Hikaru smiled at it. Come here. Kagami hesitated, then walked into her embrace. She held it gently, warmly. You're part of our vow too, she whispered. You don't disappear. You stay. Kagami trembled, his form shining brighter. I will. The man placed a hand on Kagami's shoulder. Welcome home. Kagami bowed its head. I finally have one. The sanctuary brightened again. A final question whispered through the air. Not from the forest, not from the lantern, but from their own intertwined souls. What path will you choose now? Hikaru and the man looked at each other. He took her hand. Let's return to the world, he said softly. Together. Hikaru smiled with quiet certainty. Together. Kagami stepped beside them. And I will walk behind you, it said, in a voice full of warmth, as your reflection, your witness, and your protector. The lantern's flame wrapped them gently, and the forest opened its crystal gates. Through the glowing trees, through fields of shimmering memory, through the restored heart-glass clearing, they walked as one. A soul once broken, now whole. A shadow once lost, now reborn. A love once forgotten, now eternal. The forest of glass whispered softly as they departed. Asterisk remember, 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 asterisk. And for the first time in a long, aching journey, they remembered everything. Together. Thank you for listening to Sleep with Myth.